Right. So in today's session onwards, we are going to discuss about test cases. Because as I mentioned earlier, after test planning, as far as automation is concerned, manual process is concerned, we need to prepare test cases first. So understanding the test cases is something connected with use cases, because there are two things. Last time also I told you, one is about use case and second is a test case. Use cases are development perspective, because whatever the use cases we prepare, everything from the development side, developer side, I mean to say that. But whereas when it comes to the test cases and all, everything are from the testing side. Both must be equal. That's what generally the context is. So in this context, generally, first of all, we need to write down the test cases for all the functionalities. Whatever the functionalities relating to the project we have identified. For all the functionalities, it is always important for us to write down the test cases, which is something essentially important by quality analyst team and testing team on that. Now, the same project, as I mentioned earlier, we are taking the same project as cloud-based point of sale system. And that project consists of different features we have. Not only features, we have even functional and non-functional requirements, right? So all these were mentioned in that in the document. I last time also have shown. So the same functionalities we are taking to prepare test cases. Now, test cases for a cloud-based point of sale system. Okay. Ours is a cloud-based point of sale system, which is called a kite, right? So this is where generally the project name is. Product name is called a kite. Now, here we need to mention the test case number. First of all, let me explain you what are the test case number stands for. Because for every functionality, whatever are we preparing, for every functionality, there will be a test case number will be given. But if you want to mention about the test case number, it's always important for us to understand about the scenario. So what exactly the scenario was? This is where something we have to be known with. Scenario, for example, login is a scenario, right? So login is a scenario. Now, when it comes to login as a scenario, first of all, we need to identify who are the users. Because before all this, we need to know. First of all, let me write down here. We should understand who are the users first. We need to know that. Who are the users using this cloud-based point of sale system? First, we have to identify the users. So before I'm getting into the scenario, I'm explaining you who are generally users for the project what we have taken, because users are two kind of users. Because in the beginning also I told you some applications were internal applications. What does it mean? Internal applications means applications that are useful to manage internal activities of the organization. As an example, I can give you an inventory management system from the retailing domain context. I'm saying this. It can be point of sale system. It can be inventory management system. It can be payroll management system, right? So these are all, it can be in CRM application. Of course, CRM application customer will also can raise the request so that I don't take it, right? Payroll management system, inventory, at the same time, store management, point of sale system. These are the internal applications. Listen carefully, internal applications. So we are developing this for a particular customer, and that customer employees are using this application to manage their business activity within the organization. Okay, these we call it as internal applications. Internal. Again, for example, I'll give you another example for banking. Let's say if you are going for a banking application, core banking. Core banking application is one of the application will be used to manage back-end operations of the bank, right? So these are the internal applications. Internal applications means employees of that particular organization uses within the organization. This is not for any for external purposes, not for that. Second applications are external applications. I can give you CRM as an example, one, because even CRM, for example, customer can raise a request, right? So customer can also raise a request through a CRM process. So CRM it can be. It can be an online in reference to the banking domain is concerned, online banking. Online banking is an application will be used by the customers to do online banking transactions without going to the home branch so that they can raise a request. They can download the account statements. They can transfer the money, right? So, etc., etc. All these things will be done by the can be done by the customer. At the same time, travel domain, ticketing, online ticketing reservation system, or else it can be e-commerce applications, e-commerce portals. So these are external applications. External applications means these applications we are developing where external users are the users here. Let's say, for example, we are developing an application of e-commerce portal, something like Amazon, Flipkart, right? For example, we are using it. Now, who are going to use this application? This will be used by the customers, whoever is doing online transaction, means online, whoever wants to purchase the goods, they are the users. Primary users are they, okay? They are the primary users because customer is expecting you to develop an e-commerce application so that people can go to that site online and they can buy the products online, right? So for that benefit, customer is asking us to develop the e-commerce application. So who are customers, who are users here? Customers of your customer, right? Customers of your customer. Who is your customer here? Your customer is a e-commerce company. His customers, their customers are nothing but their people, right? So people who are purchasing goods from the online, they are their customers. They are using it, right? So primary customers are they in reference to these sort of applications, external applications, primary users are they. Second, there are other users. Who are users? Other users are end users within the organization. For example, a person has raised a request to purchase some XYZ. Whoever is receiving in the end, right? So back end team and all everything, those are internal users, right? So they use both. So whenever we are working on any application, right? So understanding, whenever we try to understand about the complexity of the project, etc., all that, it's always important for us to know about who are users first. Who are users for your project is what something we have to be known with. First of all, that is the thing first we need to learn, right? So who are users for the project? Normally users for the project will be of two, as I told you, right? One is internal users. Second is external users. Internal users means people who are supporting us internally. External users means people who are supporting us from outside. Those are external users are. These are the two different users we can see. Now let's come back to our cloud-based point of sale system. If you have taken this, first we need to understand the users. Who are users? First, billing people. Okay, billing person or persons. Point number two. Inventory professionals. Third, store manager. Store manager. Next, fourth one, maybe HR people. Okay. Okay, let's confine to these four people. What I do, I'll do one thing. We have a document, right? So I'll write there. That is better. So that I can share this document to you. Raj Elnaiva. So there is a driver, right? So we have we have a notes, right? Earlier. Here I'll write so that you can see later. Okay. Users of cloud-based point of sale system, which is of Ekite. Name of the product is Ekite. Okay, Ekite, cloud-based point of sale system. Now, users are cloud-based point of sale system. Who are users? The first person, billing person. Second, because this take time, because this is important. Please, guys, please focus on this. Okay. Next, inventory professionals, irrespective of the number. Okay, number can be anything. Next is store manager or store supervisor, whoever there. Next, fourth one, HR professionals. Next, backend team, for example. Backend team for all that, all CRM related stuff, etc. Right? For example, right? So these are the 5 users who are using the cloud-based point of view. So whenever we try to understand the application, first of all, we need to understand who are the users, because test cases you are preparing for the functionalities. Okay. So who are going to use the functionality? This functionality will be used by multiple users. Right? Right. So first of all, we need to identify who are the users here. Billing person, inventory professional, store manager, HR, backend team. Now, what a billing person can do, bill the products, right? Product billing, right? This is what generally billing person do. Now, for this, first of all, let me open the features and functionalities of POS, because detailing of these are very essentially important, right? So this is not as it is we discuss. Okay, right. Now, CRM loyalty program. This will be managed by the backend team. Okay, let me write down here. This will be organized by the backend team. Franchisee money multi-location. This will be managed by, for example, admin. Okay, like for example, admin is a person who is going to do that, right? Admin team. Now, cash and hardware register. This is for billing persons, right? Billing team. This will be used by the billing team. Inventory team. Irrespective of the number, okay, it is nothing to do with number, okay, it is to do with this, right? So item voids, receipt collection, item voids, post drawing, closing and all, right? For example, this will be done by the billing team again, okay. Next, payments, contactless payments, credit card fraud and all. This payments, yeah. So this will be managed by the billing team because a selection of payments. Okay, that's what it was. Type of payment. Reporting analytics. This may be for store manager, for example, admin team or store manager, whoever. Let us take it as store manager, right? Next, software updation. This will be an auto process, because this is an auto updation, because automation software updation and all, but backend operations will be taken care of by the admin team, because there will be an administration team all the time. So they have to manage the application if there is any faults and all that. At the same time, installation assistant, this is also will be taken care of by the admin team. Okay, so these are the different users, right? Users. It can be a number, right? It can be users. So first of all, either it can be backend team, it can be an admin team, it can be a billing team. Come back to our point. It can be billing team, it can be inventory store manager, HR people, backend team, or backend team, or backend team and admin team. Who else we have? Excuse me. Yeah. Right. Okay, let's go. Right. So either it can be a billing person, billing team, or it can be an inventory person, store manager, HR professional, backend team, admin team. Irrespective of the kind of activities they will be performing, the very first thing what is that they have to do is to log in. Okay. Now here, what was the scenario here? When we are talking about a test scenario is log into the application. Okay, it means cloud-based POS system. Okay, this is what the test scenario is. Log into the application, which is nothing but cloud-based POS system is the test scenario. Okay, now this test scenario will be used by whom? Right, so by all the people. Okay, all these people will be using this. Okay, so who will be using this? Right, so login will be used by the first person. Billing team used to log in for performing billing of the products, performing product billing. Okay, first point. Second, inventory team has to log in. Inventory has to log in to update and check the inventory. Okay, for different purposes, right? They want to update the inventory, or if they want to check the inventory. For everything, generally inventory management team has to be taken care of this. This is point number 2. Point number 3, store manager uses this for report generation. Whatever the reports it can be. Okay, report generation. Now, HR professionals. HR professionals will be using login to HR team uses for checking the log details of the employees. Okay, at what time they logged in, right? So all these things for that purpose, they will be logging into the application. Okay. Now, backend team, for example, this is a CRM team, for example. Okay, backend team will be used to check the customer queries and resolve those accordingly. Okay. Now, admin team. What admin team do? Admin team wants to manage application, nothing but permissions. In this permissions, acceptance and denial. Okay. Authorizations. Right. So updations. Permissions, authorizations, updations. What an admin team do? Wants to manage the applications, permissions, updations. What is that inventory? Connectivities, right? Connectivity, etc. Okay, these are the things will be done by the admin team. So these are the people uses cloud-based point of sale system. If they want to log in, for what purpose? These are the purposes. Okay. So what is the scenario here? Scenario is for login. So logging to the existing application for different purposes depends on the kind of role what they are playing will vary. Okay. Now, whenever we are preparing a test case, so test case based on the test case number 001, right? For example, 001 test scenario where we have to mention all the things. Okay. This is online banking one. Let me delete all that. Okay. This is online banking one. Column. Okay. I'm adding the column. Okay. Right. Next. System means product name. What is that? Cloud-based POS system. The product name called account. Who is the client? Client is, for example, XYZ. Right? So XYZ is the client. What is the test scenario? Login to the application by the users to perform the activity as per the role they played. Okay, this is the scenario. Now, first one. First of all, let us start with, so assume that it was already signed. Okay, assume that. Now, what was the procedure here? Log into cloud-based POS system. Okay, so for anyone, login process remains same. Whatever the features they were using, for what purpose they are using and all everything, that is different, right? So that is nothing to do with, right? That is differs from the kind of role which people are playing, paying and all that. Okay, right? So now login to the cloud-based point of sale system is what generally the first one. Expected results and next is actual results. Okay, two things. Now, here is the question. Expected result is nothing but what client is expecting. Okay. Actual result nothing but what uh, technical team is developing. What technical team is developing. This is what actual result stands for. Now, log into the cloud-based POS system is a procedure on an action, right? Which now, what must be the expected result here? Okay. So what must be the expected result here? There must be two fields. To update username and password. Okay, there must be two fields for to update username and password. Point number one. Point number two. Once enter the details, to log in, they require a submit button. They require a submit button. Do remember, whenever we are preparing the test case initially to start with. Now, for example, this is the first time we are writing the test case. Being a quality team, testing team, we are writing the test case first. So we are going to write expected result. Actual result we don't write because actual result we don't know. Expected result is what customer is expecting. This is how. So when do you know about actual result? When developer has created a login page or a user interface designer, whenever we did the testing, right? Whatever the results we have identified that we compare here. So both are same. Test condition is considered as pass. For example, if both are not same, let's say for example, submit is a button was not mentioned by the team. Usually it won't happen, but just for the sake of example, I'm saying. Right? If there is no button called submit, how come a customer or how come a user will log into the application? Okay, there is no point in doing it. So whenever we are going to write the test cases, it's always important for us to write the expected results first. What expected result client is expecting, because if you remember, the testing team will be gathering the requirements from the business analyst team. Business analyst team will give you a clear understanding what exactly the functionality we want to develop and what must be the output, right? So what must be the output? End of the day, if it is not according to that what customer is expecting, then there is no point in doing the application. Okay, so hence it is all important here, right? So once enter the details to login, they require to submit, to require a submit button. Next, if user, this is common for everyone, do remember, okay, and don't confuse, irrespective of the users you are, login process ke liye process is same, right? So it never changes. What will appear once the login, then it is different. Right? So billing person will be used for different purposes. Maybe inventory person may be used for the different purposes. Okay. So hence don't confuse. We are confining here only for login for the test scenario as of now. So once login, after that actions and all, I'll discuss it in the next. Okay. In the next procedure action, I will write. Okay. Now, if user wants to cancel the process, they require cancel button. They require a cancel button. Next, after that, top of the page, for example, need an option of sign. Need an option of sign up if any new user. Okay, there must be an option for that. Next, top right corner, we need a home button. Right, these are the details which was given by a customer to us. Okay, for example, right? So customer to. So when we are talking about login page, right? So when you want to see the login page, how it should looks like. So login page should looks like this, right? So there must be two fields for username and password. At the same time, we required a submit button once username and password is given. Next, if there is a possibility, sometime something for some reason user wants to cancel the transaction, they must have a cancel button. Next, there must be an option for sign up if a person is a new user, because this is for the login purpose we are writing, right? So it can be sign up also. Next, top right corner, maybe in the top right corner, they may require some home button on it. Okay, this is the expected result. So whenever we are preparing the test case documentation, this is what and how generally we write, right? So expected result is what we are writing. Just give me a minute. Please be online for a moment, please. Yeah, right. Sorry, right. So this is where generally we call it as expected result stands for, right? Who has given this expected result? Expected result will be given by the customer. Okay. Now this test case we prepare and we keep it ready. So because this is a manual process which normally we follow. So once the testing is done, whatever the final conclusion in reference to the login page were identified by us. If there are any bugs or the defects were identified, right? It can be of any percentage, right? It can be more than sometimes 20, 30, 40, 50% or 60, irrespective of the percentage it can be. So actual results will be mentioned over here. Okay, actual result means what must be the actual result, right? So for example, if these are both are same, right? Expected and actual result are same. Generally, we write it as pass. Else, right? For example, if it was not the same, okay? For example, if both are not same, we write it as failed, okay? But it's not something, how much percentage of failed, well, that's a different thing. Okay? That's a different thing. Leave it for some time. So now if there is a fail, for example, if expected result as well as the actual result are too different, for example, right? Because development team or user interface designer team has identified this in a wrong manner, right? So they have misunderstood this. For some reason, there may be some technical or communication gap or something. So they misunderstood or they failed in understanding, or for whatsoever reason, some mistake was done. So this is considered as failed. To what percentage, that is different, failed. But what are the defect details will be mentioned here. For example, this is failed. For example, this is failed. So whatever the defect details that has to be mentioned here. Submit cancel button, for example. Missing cancel button. on the login page, right? So because detailed description over login page. Yeah. So detailed description over the defect details has to be mentioned over here, right? This is something required. Okay, defect details. What? How many are the defect details about? Right. So for example, next, missing home button on the top right corner as specified by the customer. See, the major advantage you see from agile, I don't say advantage, difference. Major difference from traditional practices to agile is, in traditional practices, you see, there must be some templates like this should be available. And on these templates, you have to update each and everything you have to write down. But whereas in agile, the advantage is, especially there is a tool of Jira we are using nowadays. So this is all something predefined. If you have a clarity over what is to write, that is sufficient, because the documentation, the templates, everything are predefined. Simply you just enter the matter, whatever is required for example, for test cases and test scenarios and all, test planning and all, and just submit it. Because few days back, couple of days back, I have shown you, of course, the practicals are there in coming days, right? So I'll show you it on the Jiffer tool also. So there we can do that, right? So this is how generally we have to write down the test case, right? So test cases, different test cases and all, everything, different scenarios. But the kind of action, whatever we have taken into an account now, and whatever the action are we writing over here is about login part, right? So login is what generally the activity we have written as a procedure or an action. So this is a procedure or an action which a user is performing irrespective, because if it is a billing person or it can be an inventory person or whoever they are, right? It can be a store manager or it can be admin and all that. Login page for everyone the same. So once logging in, what page will appear may vary, because billing person will see the billing this thing, right? So billing form and all that, right? So inventory person may be seeing that inventory details and all, everything, so that he has to enter the dates so that he can see all that. So report generation for store manager, that is different. Maybe for an CRM people and all, to raise the request or to see the queries and all, that is different. So once logging in, what will happen, that is different. But at the process of working on the login, what must be there in the page? This is where generally we call it as expected result. So each and every functionality, whatever the functionality are we going to we require to write, every functionality has to be updated in a form of test case here. Understood? Clear? Is it clear to everyone or not?
Yes, sir.
Clear to everyone? Understood or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So Raz, I have a question. Like, over here we are just doing like the how the features are gonna look and it should be, right? So when we are doing the login, like we have to use the correct credentials and then incorrect for the testing, right? So where are we writing all those like?
Exceptions. That is called exceptions. A valid point. I'll tell you. If else,
Okay.
this is where Mamata, it is Mamata. Is it Mamata?
Yes, it is.
Mamata,
Yeah.
na? Mamata.
Yeah.
Right. So this is where generally we call it as exceptions. Exceptions. Exceptions means if else condition. What is if else condition? User ID password was right. Okay. So automatically people will log in. Else. Because if you remember, Mamata, when we discussed about the use case for a particular functionality, when I written, if you remember, whenever I teach business analyst, whenever I teach, I have explained to you guys. If you remember or not, I'm not sure. So there is an option called main success scenario, precondition, post condition, in between success scenario. After that, there are two things we have mentioned: assumptions. Assumptions. Assumption, what is meant by assumption? For example, if something is wrong, what should happen? There must be an error which should happen there. So those are all we call it as assumptions. Understood, Mamta? Clear? Right?
Yes.
Understood or not? Right?
Yes.
Assumption. Assumption is what? For example, user ID. See, this is to show how the login page looks like, right? Login page mein kya hona chahiye, right? What are all should be there on the login page is what this procedure or a function or an action what I have written here. Okay. If, for example, someone has given a user ID password next, what will happen? Sometimes it will be succeeded. Why? Because user ID password was right. Second is, if not, for example, if they have failed in giving right user ID password, for example, they have forgotten something XYZ. So immediately we get an error message, right? Your password is incorrect. Please type the password again. Okay, this is an assumption. Again, there is an extension for that. What was the extension? Make sure this attempt of giving the user ID password or something should not be exceeded for more than twice or thrice. If it was the case, system will be holded for next 24 hours where we cannot operate. Mamta, understood?
Yes.
That comes next. That will come next. If else condition. That is what we call it as if else. If user ID password was right, what will happen? They enter into the next page, right? Whatever the page it can be, we enter. Else, what happens? For everyone else the same. What was else? Please type the correct password. As you have typed the incorrect password, please type the. So for everyone, whoever is doing the login, the same thing. There is no difference for one user. Understood, Namta? Clear?
Yes. Yep. Yes, it's making sense. Yep.
Of course, one procedure and action was written here. There are few more that we are going to discuss in tomorrow. Okay.
Okay. Yep. Thank you so much. Yep.
Right, guys? Clear? So for this is patience is required to write all that. It takes time. We have to